Hello and welcome back. I am Philip Rosenberg, and you are watching The Philip Rosenberg Show. I'm here today with Kevin O'Brien, who is a very interesting fellow. He is a unique interview for me in terms of what we're going to talk about. I don't know much about blockchain. I know a tiny little bit more than I knew before I did any research for this interview. I'm going to learn a lot more, and so are you guys. So Kevin is the managing director of an early stage investment fund that does primarily investing in like the blockchain space. We're going to find out what exactly that means. We'll see. He is himself a blockchainer. So it's both a noun and a verb. I did not know that. Now we know. And this sounds really cool. He is a cryptocurrency project investor. Don't really know what that means, but that sounds like Mission Impossible, Tom Cruise kind of stuff. All right, so in 2020, January, Kevin delivered a private briefing on blockchain and global competitiveness to members of Congress in Washington. So he's really an expert on this stuff. He's going to tell us about it. We're going to keep it so that we can understand it, even the layperson. We're going to try and enjoy. So Kev, thank you so much for joining me and us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Phil. Always a pleasure to talk.
So I guess the first basic question, is there a way to sum up blockchain quickly and easily? Is it possible so that we can move on to what happens on blockchain, which is kind of more interesting than the mechanics of what blockchain actually is? You know what I mean?
For
So
sure.
is there, yeah.
Yeah, blockchain simply, I've been thinking about this, what the best way is to describe it. And trust me, it's only been around 12 years or so since the first white paper for Bitcoin got published. So people's lack of understanding or people only getting familiar with it now is, that's fine. It's a new emerging technology and it's slowly going to seep into, and currently is, into enterprise level. So at a very basic level, blockchain is an operating system that uses crowd computing to run and orchestrate it.
So crowd computing, that sounds like that old thing do you remember Napster? There was a thing called LimeWire as well. These like peer-to-peer music sharing things, right? Stuff that I would, of course, never use because it was illegal, I believe, and I would never break the law in any way, shape, or form.
Exactly.
So, yeah, where everyone is sort of contributing the power of their computer and the information on their computer into the central sort of hive mind thing, and then anyone in the group can access that information. Is that kind of what blockchain is, or is that too simplistic, or is it wrong? What's happened there?
Yeah, there's definitely a huge element of it, right? So the LimeWire example that used the idea of liberating idle storage capacity on people's individual computing hard drives. So I'd store 1,000 songs, and then someone would come and then access those songs via the internet, and then download them onto their own PC or hard drive. So that was like using idle computing storage memory space. Blockchain uses the contribution of people's computing power to actually run and orchestrate the system. And this is where the word mining comes up, because to facilitate the next block being created, and we can get into how a block is created and what the next block is, but to do that takes thousands or hundreds of thousands, if not millions of computers, all contributing and competing against each other to cryptographically solve and solidify a set of transactions into a block.
So it's no simple thing then. You're saying hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of computers. That's, you're either you either have a huge office building somewhere. I mean, do people just do this? They build their own minds with their own computing power and they just keep on computing? Or does it happen with like individual users at home that are just part of this blockchain? Like, could I donate 10% of my computing power to a blockchain thing? Is that, or I'm just wondering, can anyone do it, or is it only what is the barrier to entry here?
Barrier to entry, well, for Bitcoin, because it had become the de facto proxy for what blockchain is, right? And that's fine. People kind of mix it up. Bitcoin is blockchain is Bitcoin type of scenario. But blockchain is a distributed ledger technology, and we describe what that is. And cryptocurrency is just one small element of that uses
Was I describing cryptocurrency? I see. I got you. Okay, I made a mistake. Okay, so let's ask this question. Let's move on to the big question. I think I have an idea of what blockchain is. If you're listening at home and you're not sure what blockchain is, by the way, and you want to know a little bit more, this is a great time. Your website is. They can contact you by doing.
You can go to rocktreelex.io.
Okay, say that one more time.
rocktreelex.io.
Got it. rocktreelex.io. Okay, great. So now let's talk about what do we do. We have this fantastic shared blockchain system now. And we know that it gets used for cryptocurrencies, which is perhaps its own show. Just vaguely, if you don't know what it is, we'll definitely talk about it sometime soon. Let's talk about more broadly though, what happens with blockchain these days? Because at one time, it was it was thought of as a sort of this part of this nefarious world, and has now become sort of part of the mainstream in the financial world and other places. So can we talk about those?
Yeah, for sure. It's like anything. Okay, so when new technologies come out, one of the first two industries that tend to adopt new emerging technologies tends to be gambling and porn, right? And you have these type of examples because they're the early adopters. They're like seeing examples of emerging technology. They have less risk, perhaps, as someone who is a middle manager in an enterprise to adopt this technology. So these tend to be the guys that explore this technology and then trying to incorporate it. So blockchain has gone through this life cycle of.
It's a little funny to think of as like porn digital porn producers being like leaders in the technology world.
Yeah, less so for blockchain. Might not have been the best thing to start with as an industry example.
It's certainly the most compelling, though. I think.
I think people are listening now. But yeah, so blockchain has kind of started, in its infancy in this regard. Bitcoin came out during the last pandemic, and the last pandemic really in the world was the financial crash in 2008. It got written as a means to be an alternative to the existing financial system and be an alternative form of currency that is global, that has no central authority or means to interfere with it, and do inflationary examples or QE, whatever it might be. Bitcoin itself is an autonomous software that runs independently and is operated across this distributed.
So, but what else can? So okay, we know that cryptocurrencies, are one of the things that are. So what else does blockchain do? If I were involved, if I were involved with blockchain, what industries might I be touching on? You're saying the financial industry, right? You're saying, but and more than that, is there more than that, or is it just those the primary two?
Yeah, so in context, right, I'll be really quick about this. We're entering into what's called the fourth industrial revolution. Okay, so we've been through three stages of this, right? The first was mechanization, right? So some mechanical element that was perhaps human powered or mule powered, a mill, for instance. Then we had the advent of electricity, which powered these machines. Then we went into the third industrial revolution, where we had IT and the internet and automation. And now we're entering into what's called the fourth industrial revolution. And this is where a number of technologies converge together to convert into a semantic web system, a cyber physical system. Now, those are all great big buzzwords, right?
Well, let's talk about those technologies. There's AI, one of those technologies?
Yeah, for sure. So there's artificial intelligence, there's big data, there's cloud, which we're already familiar with, there's IoT or Internet of Things, and there's blockchain. And all of them lend themselves to have different characteristics that individually are kind of quite cool. Bring them all together and you now have this pretty powerful, independent operating system that is intelligent to the point where now there is advances being made into what are called DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, where the administration or the governance of the company is actually embedded into the technology. So you don't need this idea of a human board per se, and the governance and the way dividends are distributed, and can I
Yeah,
build
who gets if you have AI making board level decisions? I mean, gee, God, this is just so. It's so Isaac Asimov, you know.
yeah, well, like, like I said, I was just giving an example of
Can I ask? My first question is this, right? So the big critique folks have about corporations
Mhm.
is that they are designed to eke out the greatest profit, and without much consideration for moral or ethical behavior, except as it might affect the marketing of their brand, for the most part, right? Or as they might be able to take advantage of it in the tax code, maybe.
Mhm.
So we already have a situation where all the encouragement is for corporations to just be this very to perceive things as this very sort of Milton Friedman universe with everything is just units of profit, and human suffering is maybe felt by individuals in the corporation, but the corporation itself is not a human entity, and what drives it is profit. And so it's to much easier, and it's encouraged when it's anything that's profitable is going to be encouraged. And even if it hurts people, that's still fine-ish, right? What happens when it's a robot, when it's an AI system? A robot is just locomotion, really, but I mean an AI system.
Well,
Make
what?
decisions at a corporate level.
Well, the reason why I guess I'm in blockchain and like the idea of what the benefits that this can actually deliver, positive benefits that this can actually deliver into the fourth industrial revolution and wealth generation in a more equitable way in society, is that you're not relying on one entrepreneur or one top-down company approach to democratically decide what happens in a company. Back to your original point, it is more of this hive mind mentality where people get to vote on the system itself. So imagine
Are we talking about the same thing? Are we not imagining that an AI system is acting in place of the board at the corporate level, right? Is that what
yeah.
we're saying here? So then the decisions at the board level are being made in this allegory
Mm.
by, I guess, I mean, can we say an AI system is a machine? What's the best way to refer to it? I'm not sure. Is that what we're saying here? Is that, if so, because what I'm asking then is, if that's true, how are the ethics and morals of decisions accounted for within the framework of an AI system making those decisions?
Great question. And this is where the marrying together of these technologies really work together. Let's take AI and blockchain as an example.
Yeah.
AI is really good at like intelligence, prediction, pattern recognition, machine learning, neural network, kind of compounding reinforcement learning.
Yeah.
And then blockchain is really good as an operating system with a set of rules that dictate the way things need to be managed. And you can embed law into the code of the actual operating system, that if I tried to do an action that perhaps conflicts with local, state level, federal law, it would not allow me to actually take that action on the system. So
okay, hold on though. An AI system is one that learns, right? So if an AI system should happen to learn that breaking the law is a more efficient way of accomplishing a goal, wouldn't it, perhaps the first attempt to do something might say, this is not legal, let's not do it. But what about further attempts later? I'm just wondering, can an AI system learn? I mean, can it understand that to break the law is an unethical thing in society? It seems like such a human concept, right?
yeah.
Right. I mean, what if an AI, because they're human criminals, right? They have determined that it is more efficient to act outside the boundaries of law. Are AI systems not capable of making that determination?
Well, I think like independently, first of all, like AI, where we are right now with AI, I would equate it to if you take the same way a child is born and they need help from day zero, right? They can't feed themselves, they can't clothe themselves, and they can't wash themselves, and slowly over time through reinforcement learning, they slowly turn into the person. They go through like infancy, they go through kindergarten, they go into like young education, all the way up through into university and into the workforce, right? AI right now is kind of at its infancy level, and it's very narrow. So it's very good at doing like a small set of things that you targeted at doing, but it by no means has the capacity to go from, use the child example, from let's say a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old's brain into now a 21-year-old. We're not even there yet. It's a quantum leap in terms of technology and innovation.
So to say that it's a quantum leap doesn't mean first of all, you're not saying it's unachievable. In fact, it sounds like you're saying it's achievable, but it's down the road. But let's also recognize that the rate of change in technology is so great that it even becomes impossible to predict the rate of change. Right.
Like, there's some guys that believe that this idea of a singularity, like the event where
Here we go.
artificial intelligence supersedes human intelligence to the point where it's almost like undistinguishable between human intelligence and an operating system. Some people say that's 20 years away, other people 15 years away, who knows, right? To your point, the rate of change is happening so fast that you're almost into this Einstein's theory of relativity, right? It's moving so fast, and time distortion is kind of occurring a little bit.
Well, that's interesting. Yes, or you could call it time distortion. Gosh, I'm so tempted to start talking about astrophysics, but in the interest of keeping us both sane, let's dial it back a little bit and let's talk. Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about blockchain.
So I just want to clarify. So
yeah,
having blockchain and AI come together, they're perfect bedfellows, right? Because to the point where AI is the intelligence, but blockchain is the rails and the ruler of what can actually occur. So if you have those two systems working together, but not allowed to be able to influence what the other can actually do, you now have a set of rules that AI has to play by.
And are the rules in blockchain mutable, or are they immutable?
So the idea behind the beauty around blockchain, right? So there's plenty of companies out there at an enterprise level, at an intelligence agency level, that provide security for online and their computing, storage, or an operation. Blockchain, what it does is it's a set of record keeping across a distributed ledger technology that is in real time shared across the millions of computers, so that everyone in the system can have trust. And that's one of the fundamental benefits that blockchain can deliver into society and government. It's this idea of shared trust. So I don't need to understand who Phil is, don't understand your background. All I need to be able to do is have these set of signals that my personal blockchain, say for instance, can understand that you're a trustworthy individual, that the records and information that you provided to me are up to date and validated, and now we can enter into some kind of transaction together.
So it is possible. So there's no government supervision in blockchain. Is that correct, or is that incorrect?
Yeah, it's a decentralized system.
So there's no, okay, so then anyone, good actor or bad, however you describe those things, can access the blockchain process and use it in their way, right?
Well, to my earlier point is that from correct by construction of a good blockchain is that bad actors aren't allowed to even attempt to do those bad actions, right? So it's the same way of setting out boundaries and parameters of how people can actually conduct business. If you don't program it into the system, they can't take that action.
Quite interesting, that, yeah. it's an entirely new, it's actually amazing for those people that are my age, and I think you're younger than I am. I think I'm 51. So I was alive and kicking before the digital age, right? It was like happening in the background, like on military bases from even before me, of course, but it doesn't come ubiquitous in our, it doesn't become ubiquitous in our society until, let's say, the 90s, maybe late 90s, early 2000s. And now we've almost, I feel as though human beings have almost got to the point where if you were to, if there was a sudden lack of electricity, I wonder how, you know, no internet even, or what if, forget electricity, what if there was just no internet all of a sudden? So blockchain, among other things, is done. But can human beings even survive now? Are we so connected to the digital world that we've disabled our ability to live without it? Is that, do you think, at all possible?
I happened to, when I, in my past life, I worked, I was like the head of marketing for a telco in Dublin.
Yeah.
And that particular company was also a sister company of a group that owns the actual physical plumbing for the internet that runs underneath or on the bed of the Atlantic Ocean, connects Europe to America. And so this plumbing, this physical pipe of an internet ran into our building. So I didn't have security access into that room, obviously, for good reasons. But in the ground there, and they had actual reserve energies so that if an electricity outlet or shortage occurred, that you could switch back on the internet and you could actually power it for a considerable number of weeks if there was some kind of energy.
So there's some redundancy in there.
There's a lot, and that was, you know, that was many, many moons ago. So I can only imagine what it is now.
I don't know what that banging was. I don't think that was on. Was that on? Was that yours? It's okay.
It's my pizza. Sorry.
Someone's putting up a shelf. Oh, is it your pizza?
No,
Awesome. I wish I had a slice of pizza right now, actually. Pepperoni. I love thee. Okay.
Yeah, what's happened to the one slice, the $99 slice in New York? It's
99-cent slice. Is that still a thing?
I'm hoping.
I assume so.
Yeah.
And you can pass by and just grab a slice. So I think it might be. But let's. So I want to. We're getting close to the end of our time for the interview, and I want to give people at home that are listening and wondering a way. If you're at home and you want to become involved in blockchain, you're listening to this conversation. Maybe for the first time you're hearing about blockchain, or maybe it's the second time you're starting to get a more firm idea of what it's about and what can be done with it. What is a good way for just an average human being to start to access that world, to become connected to it?
Look, I'm a big fan of YouTube videos in terms of learning.
Yeah.
There's massive amounts of explainer videos on YouTube that are 3 minutes long, very short, you know, that you can, you know, wet your whistle on and start getting familiar with it. So it's first, I'd say it's an educational process, right? Don't jump in and do anything, take any actions. And no investment advice, but obviously Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency. So, you know, people sometimes they would go and perhaps purchase some Bitcoin, just start getting familiar with that, the cryptocurrency world itself. But then this, because of the benefits of blockchain itself, right? Outside of cryptocurrency, you can have a blockchain without cryptocurrency and just have like what's called tokens, independent tokens that are perhaps private within your own enterprise that allow for your departments to share information, keep track of order management.
But that doesn't sound like something that the average person can access. It sounds like you're describing a process that's fairly complex and specialized.
I would say that look to any part of your existing day or business, if you're a business owner, or if you're involved in or an employee in a company, look for where there's inefficiencies. So I'll give you an example, right? So the financial world right now has obviously gone through many evolutions, but we probably look at it as a high frequency digital trading system. It's like algorithm based, and there's lots of things going on that make it just so fast and complex that nobody really understands it. That's fine, right? And that's the veneer that's out there. But you'd be very surprised that underneath the hood, there's still an archaic system occurring where those transactions need to be recorded, they need to be auditable, so they tend to be paper-based, and those paper-based transactions need to be stored. So what looks like a very advanced financial system, we still have this problem underneath the hood that is quite antiquated. So blockchain can come in, can swap out this paper-based system, can order manage it, keep track of things, make it audible, make it transparent, give the public visibility into the system, and allow for the efficiencies and cost benefits to actually be absorbed. So that's like a financial system. So take your own company. Is there a problem that's occurring where you're continuing having to do paperwork, or there's a blockage in terms of information getting passed from one person to another? Those are identified areas where perhaps blockchain could be a solution.
That's a perfect place to stop. I want to thank you very much, Kevin. It has really been a learning experience. I often say that, and they're just words. You know, I mean, I try to learn something every time I do an interview, actually, but often it happens in my research process, and this was like I felt like I just came out of a classroom and learned something entirely new. And thank you so much for sharing that. One more time, give my audience your contact information if they want to reach out to you, learn a little bit more, maybe become an investor. What should they do?
Sure. I think the best way to reach me right now is probably on Twitter. So my handle is Kev's Planet, KEVSPLANET. So Kev's Planet, find me on Twitter, follow me there, and would happily engage and give you a little bit more information if needed.
All right. Thanks so much, Kevin. Hi, this is Phil of the Phil Rosenberg Show, and I'm here to ask you to do me a small favor. Just take your finger, reach out, click the button that says subscribe. Just take your finger, reach out, and click the button that says subscribe. I need a bunch of subscribers. The more subscribers I have, something good happens. I don't even know what that is. They tell me I got to have more subscribers. I believe them. So please do that for me. I'd appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the show.